When Eliza Kwan made basketball legend Michael Jordan wait for 2 hours in her bank lobby, she knew she was risking everything. On a stormy Tuesday morning in Chicago, this brave branch manager of Meridian Trust Bank decided to treat the most famous athlete in the world, just like any regular customer, forcing him to wait, watching him from behind her office blinds, and making an urgent phone call that would change both their lives forever. As whispers spread through the bank and social media exploded with the news, Eliza stood her ground against angry supervisors and confused colleagues. But when the bank's powerful board members unexpectedly walked in, her face changed completely. Why would a smart bank manager deliberately make Michael Jordan wait? And what shocking connection between them will be revealed that neither of them saw coming? Rain pounded against the windows of Meridian Trust Bank as Eliza Kwan hurried through the employee entrance, shaking water from her black umbrella. The morning storm matched her mood, dark and turbulent. At 38, Eliza had spent 15 years climbing the banking ladder, the last 3 as branch manager of this downtown Chicago location. Today could undo all of it. "Morning, Ms. Kwan," called the security guard, his usual smile failing to lift her spirits. "Morning, Darryl," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She checked her watch, 7:30 a.m., 2 hours before opening. Just enough time to review her presentation for the quarterly board meeting scheduled for 3 p.m. The rumors about branch closures had been swirling for weeks. Her location's numbers were solid, but not spectacular. In banking, not spectacular could be a death sentence. Eliza hung her damp coat in her office and settled at her desk, powering up her computer. The family photo beside her monitor caught her eye. Her parents at her college graduation, their faces beaming with pride. Her father had passed away 5 years ago, never seeing her make branch manager. The memory sent a fresh pang through her chest. "You'd know what to do, Dad," she whispered. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." Tomas Martinez, her assistant manager, poked his head in. At 27, he brought energy to the team, his eager-to-please attitude balancing Eliza's more measured approach. "The facilities team fixed the leak in the ceiling near the south entrance," he reported, stepping inside. "And I've prepared those loan approval statistics you wanted for the board meeting." "Thank you," Eliza said, accepting the folder he handed her. "Any word from Regional about those new customer service protocols?" "Nothing yet," Tomas replied. "But Victor called. He's coming by at noon to review your presentation." Tomas made air quotes with his fingers. Eliza suppressed a groan. Victor Rawlins, her direct supervisor, had been breathing down her neck for months, waiting for her to slip up. As one of the few women of color in bank management, Eliza felt the pressure to perform twice as well as her peers. "Perfect," she said, not bothering to hide her sarcasm. "Just what today needed." The next hour passed in a blur of spreadsheets and presentation slides. The rain continued its assault on the windows as the clock ticked toward opening time. At 8:45, she emerged from her office to join the daily staff huddle. "Remember, everyone, the board members will be here this afternoon," she told her team of 12. "They'll be watching everything: how we greet customers, how quickly we resolve issues, how we present ourselves. Let's show them why Meridian Trust's downtown branch deserves to stay open." The team nodded, determination in their eyes. They'd been through tough times together. Each person knew that branch closures meant job losses. At 9 a.m. sharp, Darryl unlocked the front doors. The usual morning customers trickled in, small business owners making deposits, elderly patrons who preferred talking to a person over Sue, using an app. Eliza watched from her office, making notes on customer wait times and staff efficiency. At 9:42 a.m., Thomas burst into her office without knocking, his eyes wide, face flushed. "Ms. Kwan, Eliza, you need to come out here right now," he said, his voice a whisper shout. "What's wrong? Is it Victor? He's not supposed to be here until—" "It's Michael Jordan." Eliza froze, certain she'd misheard. "What?" "Michael Jordan. The Michael Jordan. Chicago Bulls. 6 championships. Greatest of all time. He's standing at Belinda's desk right now." For a moment, Eliza couldn't process the information. Her father had been a massive Bulls fan during the Jordan era. He'd worked nights as a janitor at the Chicago Stadium just to catch glimpses of Jordan playing. "What does he want?" she managed. "He wants to open a specialized business account. Belinda sent me to get you because it requires branch manager approval." Eliza stood and smoothed her skirt, mind racing. Any other day, she would have rushed out, personally welcomed the basketball legend, and expedited his service. Celebrity. Customers meant positive attention for the branch. But today, with the board meeting looming, something clicked in her mind. Through her office window, she could see Jordan waiting patiently at the desk. Tall and distinguished, in a tailored gray suit, his presence commanded attention even years after his playing days. Other customers were beginning to notice, whispers and pointed fingers spreading through the lobby. In that moment, an idea formed in Eliza's mind. Radical, possibly career-ending, but potentially powerful enough to save more than just her branch. "Tell Belinda I'm unavailable," she said quietly. Thomas blinked. "Excuse me?" "Tell her I'm in an important conference call and cannot be disturbed. Mr. Jordan will need to wait." "You want Michael Jordan to wait? Like a regular customer?" Thomas looked at her as if she'd suggested they rob the vault. "Exactly." "Like a regular customer," Eliza confirmed, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "And Thomas? Tell the staff not to give him any special treatment. He waits his turn like everyone else." But he's Michael Jordan." "I'm aware," Eliza said. "Trust me on this, please." Thomas hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, if you're sure." After he left, Eliza closed her office blinds partially, enough to see out but not be easily seen. She watched as Thomas returned to Belinda's desk and whispered in her ear. Belinda's eyes widened in shock, but she quickly composed herself and turned to Jordan with a professional smile. Eliza couldn't hear the exchange, but she saw Jordan's slight frown, followed by a nod. To her relief, he moved to the waiting area and took a seat, checking his watch. Eliza reached for her phone with trembling fingers and dialed a number she rarely used. After 3 rings, a woman answered. Chairperson Delaney's office. "This is Eliza Kwan from the downtown branch," she said, keeping her voice low. "I need to speak with Ms. Delaney immediately. It's urgent." "Ms. Delaney is in meetings all morning. Can I take a message?" "Tell her Michael Jordan is sitting in our waiting area, and I've made him wait in line like any other customer." Eliza paused, then added, "And tell her I'm about to show the board exactly what's wrong with Meridian Trust's customer service model." A long silence followed. "Hold, please." Eliza waited, watching Jordan through the blinds. He sat calmly, scrolling through his phone. A young boy approached him shyly, and Jordan smiled, taking time to chat with the child. The boy's face lit up with joy. "Ms. Kwan," Chairperson Delaney's voice came through the line. "You have exactly 60 seconds to explain why you're risking the bank's reputation with one of the most famous people in America." Eliza took a deep breath and laid out her plan. As she spoke, she watched the lobby clock tick forward. The wait had begun. What she was attempting was unprecedented. If it worked, it could change everything. If it failed, she'd be clearing out her desk by sunset. Either way, she knew her father would be proud. 60 seconds are up, Ms. Kwan," Chairperson Delaney said through the phone. "The board will decide if your experiment is brilliant or grounds for immediate termination." "I understand," Eliza replied, her mouth dry. "Thank you for listening." After hanging up, Eliza sank into her chair, memories washing over her like the rain against the windows. 28 years earlier, 9-year-old Eliza sat at their kitchen table, working through math problems while her father, Lin Kwan, prepared a simple dinner. He'd just finished his day shift, stocking shelves at the grocery store. In 3 hours, he would leave for his night job at Chicago Stadium. "Will you see the Bulls play tonight, Baba?" she asked hopefully. Lin smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling with exhaustion. "Maybe from a distance while I'm cleaning. If I'm lucky, I might see Jordan practicing those amazing jump shots." "Chauncey T, you take me someday?" Her father's smile faded slightly. "Tickets are very expensive, little one, but someday, when my business idea works out, we'll sit courtside, I promise." It was a dream they shared, her father's sports equipment shop that would serve their neighborhood. He'd been saving for years, putting away small amounts from his 3 jobs. "Ms. Kwan?" Tomas's voice yanked Eliza back to the present. He stood in her doorway, looking nervous. "It's been 15 minutes. Mr. Jordan is still waiting. People are starting to take pictures. It's all over social media already." Eliza nodded. "Thank you, Thomas. Please continue with normal operations." After he left, Eliza turned back to the window. Through the blinds, she could now count at least 6 customers who had pulled out phones, discreetly or not so discreetly, snapping photos of Jordan. The basketball legend continued to wait patiently, occasionally smiling at other customers. Her phone buzzed. A text from Victor. "What is happening? Jordan is trending. Call me now." She ignored it, turning instead to a worn photo in her desk drawer, her father standing proudly in front of the Chicago Stadium, his janitor's uniform neatly pressed despite the long hours he'd already worked. The photo was taken just days before he'd finally submitted his business loan application to Meridian Trust. The memory of what came next still made her chest tighten. Her father, dressed in his only suit, slightly too big in the shoulders, had arrived at this very branch 20 minutes early for his appointment. Eliza, then 17, had come along for moral support. "Kwan loan application," the receptionist had said, barely looking up. "Please take a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." 1 hour passed, then 2. Her father sat straight-backed, loan proposal neatly bound in a folder on his lap. Wealthy-looking clients came and went, most spending only minutes before being ushered into private offices. After nearly 3 hours, a young loan officer finally called them in. He flipped through Lynn's carefully prepared business plan with obvious disinterest. "This neighborhood doesn't need another sports shop," he concluded after a cursory review. "And your collateral isn't sufficient for the loan amount. I'm sorry, but we'll have to decline." The rejection took less than 10 minutes. On the bus ride home, Her father had stared out the window, the folder clutched in his hands. "It's okay, Baba," she'd said, trying to comfort him. "We can try another bank." He had smiled at her, but something in his eyes had changed. "Perhaps banking isn't built for people like us, Eliza. They see us differently." 2 weeks later, an affluent businessman opened a high-end sporting goods store in the downtown area. She later learned he'd secured financing from Meridian Trust. The same day, her father was rejected. Lin Quan never applied for another business loan. His dream died that day. He continued, working his 3 jobs until a heart attack took him. 5 years ago, just months before Eliza was promoted to assistant manager at a small Meridian Trust branch. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd entered banking to change it from within, to ensure others wouldn't face what her father had experienced. Her rise through the ranks had been methodical, each promotion bringing her closer to having real influence over policy. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. This time, it was Belinda, the teller who'd first greeted Jordan. "Ms. Kwan, it's been half an hour. Mr. Jordan's assistant just called. She's asking why he hasn't been helped yet. What should I tell her?" Eliza took a deep breath. "Tell her Mr. Jordan is welcome to reschedule if his time is valuable. Otherwise, we're processing customers in the order they arrived." Belinda's eyes widened, but she nodded and retreated. Through the blinds, Eliza watched as Belinda spoke quietly on the phone at her station. A moment later, Jordan took out his own phone, presumably receiving a call from his assistant. He listened, then shook his head. He put the phone away and settled back in his chair. He was staying. Eliza felt a surge of respect for the man. Most celebrities would have stormed out, demanded special treatment, or made a scene. Jordan simply waited, exhibiting the same patience and determination that had made him a legend on the court. Her desk phone rang. The display showed Victor's number for the 3rd time. She ignored it, again knowing a confrontation was inevitable, but preferring to delay it as long as possible. The rain outside had stopped, sunlight now streaming through the lobby windows. It fell across Jordan's face as he smiled at something on his phone. Customers continued to enter the branch, many doing double takes when they spotted the basketball icon sitting in the waiting area. Eliza checked the time. 45 minutes had passed since Jordan's arrival. Her plan was working, data points accumulating with each passing minute. But the true test was yet to come. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Victor. "The board members have moved up their visit. Read the text from Chairperson Delaney. They'll be there in just over an hour. I hope you know what you're doing." Eliza put down the phone, her heart hammering against her ribs. 1 hour. The clock was ticking faster than she'd anticipated. Through the window, she watched as a young mother entered with a small boy in tow. The child stopped in his tracks, pointing excitedly at Jordan. The basketball star waved him over, making space on the waiting area couch. Eliza couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw the boy's face light up as Jordan spoke to him, giving him his full attention despite the growing whispers and stares around them. In that moment, watching how Jordan treated this random child with genuine kindness, Eliza felt even more certain of her decision. Some people, regardless of their fame or wealth, understood the importance of treating everyone with dignity. If only the banking industry operated on the same principle. For 15 years, she'd worked within the system, trying to create small changes. Today, she was finally taking a stand that could not be ignored. Michael Jordan, perhaps the most famous person to ever enter this branch, was being treated exactly as her father had been all those years ago. The symmetry felt right, necessary, overdue. The intercom on her desk buzzed. "Ms. Kwan," came Thomas's urgent voice. "Victor Rollins just pulled into the parking lot, and he looks furious." Eliza straightened her jacket and stood. The first real test of her resolve had arrived. "Send him to my office as soon as he comes in," she replied calmly. The waiting game was about to get much more complicated. "Michael," Jordan shifted in his seat, checking his watch for the third time. 1 hour and 10. Minutes had passed since he'd walked into Meridian Trust Bank. Around him, the morning rush had slowed to a steady trickle of customers, many doing double takes when they spotted him. This wasn't how his day was supposed to go. The plan had been simple: stop by the bank, open the specialized business account for his new restaurant venture, and be on his way to a lunch meeting with investors. His assistant had assured him the branch manager would handle everything personally. Instead, here he sat, waiting like anyone else. At first, he'd been annoyed. Didn't they know who he was? Then, almost immediately, he'd felt ashamed of that thought. Fame had its privileges, but it didn't entitle him to special treatment. His parents had taught him better. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Carla, his assistant. "This is ridiculous. I can send a car for you and we'll go to Ikur, another bank. The investors won't wait forever." Jordan typed back, "Reschedule lunch. I'm staying." He put his phone away, ignoring the flurry of incoming messages. Something about this situation intrigued him. Through the glass wall of her office, he could see the branch manager, Eliza Kwan, according to the nameplate he'd glimpsed on her desk. She was on the phone, her expression intense, occasionally glancing toward the lobby. Was this a power play? A publicity stunt? Or something else entirely? A tall man in an expensive suit burst through the front doors, face flushed with anger. He barely acknowledged the security guard's greeting before storming toward the manager's office. Jordan watched as the man entered without knocking and closed the door firmly behind him. Even from across the lobby, Jordan could tell the conversation was heated. The man gesticulated wildly while Eliza remained seated, her posture calm but unyielding. Jordan's mind drifted to his own humble beginnings. Growing up in Wilmington, North Carolina, his family hadn't had much. His father worked at a General Electric plant, his mother at a bank. They'd taught him the value of hard work, respect, and patience. "Excuse me, Mr. Jordan?" A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. He looked up to see an elderly woman standing before him, leaning on a wooden cane. "I hate to bother you, but my grandson is a huge fan. Would you mind?" She held out a bank deposit slip and a pen. "Not at all," he smiled, taking the paper. "What's his name?" "Marcus. He's 11 and plays basketball every chance he gets. Wants to be just like you." Jordan signed the deposit slip with a personal message for Marcus, adding a quick sketch of a basketball. The woman beamed, tucking the paper carefully into her purse. "Thank you so much. You know, I've been banking here for 30 years. Never seen anyone the famous waiting this long before. First time for everything," Jordan replied with a chuckle. As the woman shuffled away, Jordan noticed a young couple at the loan desk. The banker was explaining something, pointing to numbers on a form. The couple's expressions fell, shoulders slumping, in disappointment. They stood to leave, the woman wiping away a tear. Jordan had seen that look before, on his parents' faces when they'd been denied a home improvement loan years ago, despite his father's steady job and good credit. It wasn't until after Jordan's NBA success that banks suddenly found his family creditworthy. The door to Eliza Kwan's office flew open. The angry man stormed out, shooting a glance toward Jordan before exiting the bank. Eliza remained in her office, straightening papers on her desk as if nothing had happened. Curiouser and curiouser, as his daughter would say. A young bank employee approached, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Jordan, I'm Tomas Martinez, the assistant manager. Ms. Kwan asked me to apologize for the wait. We're processing applications in the order received, but we should get to yours shortly." "No problem," Jordan said. "I'm learning a lot just by watching." Thomas looked surprised. "Learning?" "About how this branch operates, how you treat your customers." Jordan nodded toward the young couple now leaving. "What happened with them?" Thomas hesitated. "Loan application. They're first-time home buyers, but they don't quite meet our standard criteria." "But they're good people? Steady jobs?" "Yes, both teachers. But the algorithms say they're too risky." Jordan nodded thoughtfully. "Algorithms can't measure character." "That's what Ms. Kwan always says." Thomas leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Between us, she's been fighting to change our loan approval process for years. Wants to consider factors beyond just credit scores and income thresholds." "Sounds like a smart woman." "The smartest," Tomas agreed. "Though today, I'm not sure what she's thinking." He glanced nervously toward her office. Jordan followed his gaze. Through the glass, he could see Eliza on the phone again, pacing behind her desk. "Tell me something, Thomas. Does Ms. Kwan always make celebrities wait this long?" The assistant manager looked uncomfortable. "You're actually the first celebrity I've seen here. But no, I've never seen her make anyone wait this long on purpose." On purpose. The words hung in the air as Thomas excused himself to help another customer. Jordan settled back in his chair, increasingly fascinated. There was clearly more happening than a simple scheduling issue. The branch manager was making a statement. To whom and about what? He wasn't yet sure. His phone rang. This time it was his business partner, worried about the lunch meeting. "I'll be there when I can," Jordan told him. "Some things are more important than lunch." Through the glass, he watched as Eliza ended her call and stood, smoothing her skirt. For a brief moment, their eyes met across the lobby. She gave him a small, almost imperceptible nod before looking away. That nod told him everything he needed to know. This wasn't personal. She wasn't being rude or dismissive. She was fighting for something. Jordan had spent his career fighting too, for championships, for respect, for his place in history. He recognized the look of determination in her eyes. The clock on the wall showed 11:15 a.m. He'd been waiting nearly an hour and a half. Outside, the sun had fully emerged from behind the morning clouds, shining brightly through the bank's large windows. A young boy approached, his mother hovering nervously a few steps behind. "Are you really Michael Jordan?" the boy asked, eyes wide with wonder. "Last time I checked," Jordan smiled, extending his hand. "What's your name?" "Tyler. I'm 10. The boy shook his hand with solemn importance. "Why are you waiting so long?" "My mom says important people don't usually have to wait out of the mouths of babes." "Everyone waits sometimes, Tyler," Jordan replied, gesturing for the boy to sit beside him. "Even important people. Maybe especially important people." "But you're Michael Jordan," Tyler insisted. "You could just go somewhere else." "I could," Jordan agreed. "But sometimes staying is more important than leaving." As he chatted with the boy about basketball, school, and Tyler's dream of becoming an astronaut, Jordan noticed more customers entering the bank. Word had clearly spread. People were coming just to see if the rumors were true. To see Michael. Jordan waiting patiently in a bank lobby. Through it all, Eliza Kwan remained in her office, occasionally watching through the blinds. Whatever game she was playing, Jordan had decided to see it through. After all, he'd never backed down from a challenge before. Eliza watched through her office blinds as Michael Jordan continued chatting with the young boy. The basketball legend's patience was unexpected, but welcome. She needed him to stay at least another half hour for her plan to work. The confrontation with Victor had gone exactly as she'd feared. He'd stormed into her office, face red with anger. "Have you lost your mind?" he'd hissed, closing the door behind him. "Michael Jordan has been waiting in our lobby for over an hour." Eliza had remained seated, forcing calmness into her voice. "I'm aware, Victor." "Then why isn't he being helped? Do you have any idea how this looks? People are posting about it online." "Good," Eliza had said simply. Victor had stared at her as if she'd grown a second head. "Good? Good? Explain yourself right now, or I'm calling district management." "The board is already on their way. They'll be here in less than an hour." That had stopped him cold. "What? Why?" "Because I called them." Victor had sunk into the chair across from her desk. "You called the board? About Jordan? Waiting? Eliza, this is career suicide." "Maybe," she'd admitted, "or maybe it's the only way to prove what I've been telling you for years about our customer service model." "What are you talking about?" "Do you know how long our non-priority customers wait on average? 2 hours and 17 minutes. 2 hours, Victor. While our premium clients are whisked into private offices immediately." Victor had waved a dismissive hand. "That's banking. Premium clients get premium service." "And who decides who's premium?" "Algorithms based on income and net worth. Not character, not community investment, not potential." Eliza had leaned forward. "It's why we turn down small business loans to hard-working people, while approving luxury car loans to clients who already have 3 cars." "This is about your father's loan again, isn't it?" Victor had sighed. "Eliza, that was years ago, and you don't know all the factors. This is about every customer who comes through those doors." She'd cut him off, her voice sharp. "And yes, it started with my father, but it didn't end there. I've collected data for 2 years, showing how our wait times disproportionately affect working-class customers, how our loan rejections fall along clear socioeconomic lines. And making Michael Jordan wait proves what exactly? It proves that time is valuable for everyone, not just the wealthy. It proves that our system is broken when a global icon is treated like any other customer, and we all suddenly think it's outrageous." Victor had stood then, straightening his tie. "You've gone too far this time. When the board gets here, they'll see exactly what I want them to see." Eliza had met his gaze steadily. A branch manager willing to risk everything to make Meridian Trust live up to its name. Merit, not just money. He'd stormed out then, nearly running into Thomas, who was approaching with fresh coffee. Now, an hour later, Eliza's nerves were frayed, but her resolve unchanged. Her phone buzzed with another text from Chairperson Delaney. "ETA 30 minutes. Board is intrigued." Intrigued was better than furious, she supposed. A knock at her door jolted her from her thoughts. Thomas entered, looking worried. "Victor called regional management," he said without preamble. "They want you to call them immediately." "Did he also tell them the board is on their way?" "I don't think so." Thomas hesitated. "Eliza, what's really going on? Why are you doing this?" She considered her assistant, young and eager but with a strong moral compass. If anyone would understand, it would be Thomas. "Because nothing changes unless someone forces it to," she said quietly. "For 15 years, I've written memos, presented data, suggested policy changes, and nothing has changed. Working people still wait hours for service. Small businesses still get denied loans, while corporations get millions in credit lines. And Jordan is the perfect test case. If anyone deserves special treatment based on status, it's him. But when we make him wait, and everyone is outraged, it exposes the hypocrisy. Why aren't people outraged when a teacher waits 2 hours, or when a janitor gets denied a business loan despite a solid plan? Understanding dawned on Thomas's face. You're using him to make a point. With his unwitting help, yes. Eliza glanced toward the lobby where Jordan now sat, typing on his phone. Though I'm starting to think he might have figured it out. He's been asking questions, Thomas admitted, about our loan policies, wait times, how we treat different customers. Eliza raised an eyebrow. What did you tell him? The truth, Thomas shrugged, that you've been fighting to change things. Before she could respond, a commotion at the EP top front entrance caught their attention. A news van had pulled up outside. Oh no, Eliza breathed. This was moving faster than she'd anticipated. Social media, Thomas explained grimly. Someone must have tipped them off. Don't let them in, Eliza ordered. Daryl can cite bank policy about news cameras. Thomas nodded and hurried out. Through the window, Eliza watched him speak to the security guard, who moved to block the entrance as a reporter and cameraman approached. Her phone rang. Regional management again. She ignored it, focusing instead on Jordan. He seemed unbothered by the growing circus outside, still engaged in conversation with another customer who had approached him. The clock read 11:37 a.m. Jordan had been waiting nearly 2 hours. The board would arrive any minute. Everything was coming to a head exactly as she'd planned, and faster than she'd expected. Her computer pinged with an email notification. She clicked it open, her heart sinking as she read. From Victor Rollins to All Meridian Trust Management. Subject, urgent, downtown. Branch situation. A critical situation is developing at the downtown branch where manager Eliza Kwan has deliberately kept Michael Jordan waiting for nearly 2 hours. This unauthorized experiment threatens our reputation and relationships. Regional management is aware and taking steps. All staff are instructed to provide Mr. Jordan immediate service, regardless of Ms. Kwan's directives. Eliza closed the email, a hollow feeling in her stomach. Victor was trying to undermine her, to save face before the board arrived. She couldn't blame him. He was protecting himself just as she was fighting for her cause. She stood, straightened her jacket, and walked to her office door. If she was going down, she would do it on her own terms. As she stepped into the lobby, all eyes turned to her. The morning had slipped away, leaving her with mere minutes before the board's arrival. Jordan looked up, their eyes meeting across the room. He gave her a small nod, as if encouraging her to continue. That simple gesture gave her strength. Whatever happened next, she wouldn't back down. "Mr. Jordan," she called, walking toward him with her hand extended. "I'm Eliza Kwan, branch manager. Thank you for your patience today." Before he could respond, the bank's front doors swung open. Eliza turned, expecting to see the board members. Instead, the tall figure of Victor Rawlins filled the doorway, his expression triumphant. Behind him stood a woman Eliza recognized as the regional director. "Ms. Kwan," Victor called loudly enough for everyone to hear, "you're relieved of duty, effective, immediately." The lobby fell silent. Eliza felt every eye on her, waiting for her response. For a moment, doubt crept in. Had she miscalculated? Had her grand plan just cost her everything? Then, from behind her, a deep voice spoke. "I'd hold off on that if I were you." Michael Jordan had stood up, his imposing figure now beside Eliza. He wasn't looking at her, but at Victor and the regional director. "Because I'd like to hear what Ms. Kwan has to say first." The bank lobby remained silent as Michael Jordan stood beside Eliza, his presence commanding attention. Victor Rawlins froze, his mouth opening and closing without sound. The regional director stepped forward, quickly composing herself. "Mr. Jordan, we deeply apologize for your wait today. This is not how Meridian Trust treats valued customers." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Valued customers? Interesting choice of words. Are some customers more valuable than others?" The question hung in the air, exactly the point Eliza had been trying to make. Before the regional director could respond, the bank's front doors opened again. This time, 7 people in expensive suits entered. The board of directors, led by Chairperson Delaney, a stern woman in her 60s. "It appears we've arrived at an interesting moment," Chairperson Delaney observed, her sharp eyes taking in the scene. "Ms. Kwan, Mr. Jordan, perhaps we should move this discussion to the conference room." Eliza felt lightheaded. Everything was happening so fast. She'd wanted the board to see her point, but not like this. Not with her job already on the line. "That sounds appropriate," Jordan agreed smoothly. He turned to Eliza. "After you." As they walked toward the large conference room at the back of the bank, Eliza felt as though she were moving through a dream. Customers watched with curious eyes. Tomas gave her an encouraging nod. Victor and the regional director followed, whispering urgently to each other. Once inside, Chairperson Delaney took control. "Let's begin with Ms. Kwan explaining exactly what's happening here." All eyes turned to Eliza. She took a deep breath, remembering why she'd started this in the first place. The memory of her father gave her courage. "I've been collecting data for 2 years on how our customer service model treats different clients based on wealth rather than need," she began. "When Mr. Jordan arrived today, I saw an opportunity to demonstrate this disparity in real time." "By making him wait?" Victor interjected incredulously. "By treating him exactly as we treat our everyday customers," Eliza corrected. "The average wait time for non-priority clients is over 2 hours. Yet when someone famous experiences the same wait, it becomes a crisis." She placed a folder on the table. "These are the reports I've submitted quarterly for 2 years, showing how our policies affect working-class customers. They've been ignored or dismissed as the cost of doing business." Jordan, who had been listening intently, spoke up. "May I say something?" Chairperson Delaney nodded. "When I was cut from my high school basketball team, it was the best thing that ever happened to me," Jordan said, surprising everyone with this personal story. "It taught me about determination, about proving people wrong, about fighting for what you believe in." He looked at Eliza. I think Ms. Kwan is fighting for something important here, and I respect that. The parallel to her own journey wasn't lost on Eliza. How many times had she been told she was too idealistic for banking? That she needed to understand how the system works. Each dismissal had only strengthened her resolve, just as Jordan's high school rejection had fueled his determination. "Michael Jordan," Victor said, his voice sycophantic, "we absolutely value your input, but this situation isn't about me," Jordan finished for him. "It's about every person who walks through those doors expecting fair treatment." He turned to the board members. "I've been watching this branch operate for nearly 2 hours. I've seen elderly customers helped with patience. I've seen young couples turned away for loans despite steady jobs." He gestured toward the lobby. "Right now, there's a 10-year-old boy out there who asked me why important people don't have to wait. What message are we sending when we treat some people as more valuable than others?" The conference room fell silent. Eliza felt a surge of gratitude toward Jordan. Without knowing her story, he had somehow understood exactly what she was fighting for. Chairperson Delaney broke the silence. "Ms. Kwan, while your methods are unconventional, your point is valid. Wait times and loan approvals have been concerning metrics in our customer satisfaction surveys, which I've highlighted in every quarterly report," Eliza noted, gaining confidence. "Yes, you have," Delaney acknowledged. "Perhaps we haven't been listening as carefully as we should." Victor stepped forward. "With all due respect, Chairperson Delaney, encouraging staff to make celebrities wait isn't a sustainable business model. Neither is treating working-class customers as second-class citizens," Eliza countered. "My father was made to wait in this very bank for 3 hours before being denied a business loan, despite a solid plan and perfect payment history. The next day, a wealthier client was approved for a similar business with fewer qualifications." The personal admission hung in the air. Jordan studied her with newfound understanding. "My parents were denied a home improvement loan despite my father's steady job at General Electric," he said quietly. "The bank said they were too risky. Years later, after I became successful, those same banks couldn't offer them money fast enough." The parallel between their experiences created an unexpected bond. Two people from different worlds, connected by similar injustices. The regional director cleared her throat. "While these stories are moving, banking is ultimately a business. We prioritize clients who bring higher deposits and investments. It's simple economics." "Is it?" Jordan challenged. "Because I came here today to open a business account for my new restaurant. That's 7 figures I was planning to deposit. But now, I'm wondering if I want to do business with a bank that doesn't value all its customers." The board members exchanged alarmed glances. Losing Jordan's business would be bad. Enough. The publicity nightmare could be far worse. Chairperson Delaney turned to Eliza. "What exactly are you proposing, Ms. Kwan?" "A complete overhaul of our customer service model," Eliza replied without hesitation. "Equal wait times regardless of account balance. Loan evaluations based on character and community investment, not just credit scores. Training staff to treat everyone with dignity, whether they're depositing $50 or $5 million. "Impossible," Victor scoffed. "The costs alone might be offset by increased customer loyalty and community goodwill," Jordan interrupted. "Not everything valuable shows up immediately on a balance sheet." As the discussion continued, Eliza noticed the 10-year-old boy Jordan had mentioned peering curiously through the conference room's glass wall. His mother stood behind him, gently trying to pull him away. Jordan noticed too. He waved the boy in. After a hesitant look at the executives, the child entered, wide-eyed. "Everyone, this is Tyler," Jordan introduced him. "Tyler, these people run this bank. They're trying to decide if everyone deserves to be treated the same, or if some people should get special treatment." The boy looked thoughtful. "My teacher says we're supposed to treat everyone the same, even if they're different from us." "Smart teacher," Jordan smiled. "What do you think these folks should do?" Tyler looked around the table seriously. "I think you should be fair. That's what my mom always says. Out of the mouths of babes. The simple wisdom cut through the corporate doublespeak." Several board members looked uncomfortable, as if seeing their policies through new eyes. "Thank you, Tyler," Chairperson Delaney said kindly. "That's very helpful." As the boy rejoined his mother, Eliza caught Jordan's eye. He gave her a small nod of encouragement. 2 hours ago, they had been strangers. Now they were unexpected allies in a fight for fairness. A basketball legend and a determined banker, both shaped by similar experiences of injustice, both unwilling to back down from a challenge. The parallels between them were striking, and they were just getting started. As the meeting continued in the conference room, word spread through the bank like wildfire. Employees whispered to each other behind counters. Customers called friends and family. Social media buzzed with updates. Michael Jordan is still at Meridian Trust downtown. Anyone know why MJ has been at that bank for 2+ hours? Just drove by Meridian Trust. News vans outside. Something big happening. Inside the bank, the regular business day had been completely disrupted. Customers lingered longer than necessary, hoping to catch a glimpse of the basketball legend or learn why he'd been there so long. Some even left other branches across town to come see for themselves. Thomas struggled to maintain order at the front desk. His phone rang continuously. Calls from other Meridian Trust locations, from local media, even from the NBA office asking if Jordan needed assistance. "No comment at this time," he repeated mechanically, following Eliza's standing instructions for press inquiries. But keeping this story contained was becoming impossible. Behind the conference room's glass walls, the discussion had grown heated. The regional director, Vanessa Phillips, was speaking forcefully, pointing at charts on her tablet. "These policies exist for a reason," she insisted. "Priority service for high-value clients is standard across the industry. So was redlining once upon a time," Eliza countered, referencing the historical practice of denying services to residents of certain areas based on race or ethnicity. Just because something is standard doesn't make it right. Jordan, who had been quietly observing, leaned forward. "I've built businesses on treating people well, regardless of who they are or what they can do for me. It's not just the right thing. It's good business." Victor Rollins scoffed. "With all due respect, Mr. Jordan, banking isn't basketball. We operate on thin margins. Time is money." "And some people's time is worth more than others?" Jordan asked pointedly. "Is that the message Meridian Trust wants to send?" The question hung in the air as Chairperson Delaney's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her eyebrows rising slightly. "It seems our situation has escalated," she said, turning her phone to show the others. On the screen was a Twitter post showing a crowd gathering outside the bank. The caption read, "Something big happening at Meridian Trust. Michael Jordan inside for hours. Rumors of major shakeup." "This is exactly what I was afraid of," Victor muttered. a PR nightmare. Or an opportunity, Eliza suggested. She looked at the board members. People are watching. What message will Meridian Trust send today about how we value our customers? All our customers. Outside the conference room, Thomas approached the door hesitantly, then knocked. When Chairperson Delaney nodded, he entered. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he said, his voice tense, "but there are now 3 news vans outside. Reporters are asking for statements. And..." He hesitated. "And what?" Delaney prompted. "Several customers are asking to close their accounts. They're upset about the rumors that Mr. Jordan was made to wait deliberately. They're saying if Meridian Trust doesn't respect someone like him, how can regular customers expect fair treatment?" The irony wasn't lost on Eliza. Her demonstration was having the opposite effect than intended. At least initially, people were angry, not because a famous person had been treated like everyone else, but because they assumed if even Michael Jordan got poor service, regular customers must be treated worse. Jordan seemed to realize this too. He exchanged a look with Eliza, then addressed Thomas. "Tell them I'm fine," he said calmly. "I'm having a productive discussion with bank leadership about improving service for all customers. No need for concern." Thomas nodded gratefully and left. The regional director's phone rang immediately after. She answered, listening briefly before her expression hardened. "The district manager wants an update," she said after hanging up. "Apparently, our call center is being flooded with inquiries about this situation." Chairperson Delaney looked at her watch. It was nearly noon. "Ms. Kwan, I believe we understand your point. Perhaps it's time to conclude this demonstration and allow Mr. Jordan to conduct his business." "With respect, Chairperson Delaney," Jordan interjected, "I'd like to stay a bit longer." All eyes turned to him in surprise. "I came here today to open an account," he continued, "but I think there's something more important happening now. Ms. Kwan has raised valid concerns about how banks, not just Meridian Trust, treat different customers. I'd like to see where this conversation leads." His support gave Eliza confidence. "The issue isn't just wait times," she pressed. "It's about dignity. Everyone who walks through those doors deserves respect, not just those with 7-figure accounts." One of the quieter board members, an older man named Dr. Harris, cleared his throat. "My father was a sharecropper in Mississippi," he said softly. "The first time he tried to open a bank account in 1962, he was told to use the service entrance. Times have changed, but perhaps not as much as we'd like to believe." The personal revelation shifted the atmosphere in the room. For the first time, some of the board members seemed to be truly considering Eliza's argument rather than just managing a PR crisis. Outside, the crowd continued to grow. Thomas did his best to maintain order, but the bank lobby was now filled, with curious onlookers and media trying to gather information. Customers with legitimate banking needs were growing frustrated with the chaos. Eliza's phone buzzed with a text from a colleague at another branch. "What's happening?" "Your situation is blowing up online. Some saying MJ is buying the bank?" She put her phone away, focusing on the meeting. The social media storm was out of her control now. All she could do was make her case to the people in this room, the ones with the power to actually change things. "Here's what I propose," she said, laying out a folder of documents she'd prepared weeks ago. "A 3-tier service model based on transaction complexity, not account balance. Standard wait times for all customers. Community investment considerations for loan applications. Small business support programs targeted at underserved neighborhoods. These are significant changes, Victor objected. The implementation costs alone could be offset by improved customer retention and community goodwill, Chairperson Delaney finished, echoing Jordan's earlier point. She studied Eliza thoughtfully. You've put considerable thought into this. 3 years of thought, Eliza confirmed, since I became branch manager and saw how our policies affected real people every day. Jordan picked up the proposal, scanning it with interest. This isn't just idealism, he observed. These are practical changes that could actually work. The validation from someone of his stature wasn't lost on the board members. Several leaned forward, newly interested in the documents before them. Outside, the conference room, the commotion grew louder. Through the glass, Eliza could see Thomas looking increasingly overwhelmed as he tried to manage the growing crowd. More customers were arriving, drawn by social media reports that Michael Jordan was still at the bank after nearly 2 hours. The situation was spiraling beyond anything she'd anticipated. What had begun as a controlled demonstration was now verging on chaos. Yet within the chaos lay opportunity, the chance to force real change rather than incremental adjustments. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a news alert. Basketball legend Michael Jordan involved in mysterious situation at downtown Meridian Trust Bank. Sources say major announcement imminent. The speculation was running wild, but in this conference room, real decisions were being made. Decisions that could affect thousands of customers for years to come. Chairperson Delaney's phone rang again. After a brief conversation, she addressed the room. The CEO is now aware of our situation. He's asking for immediate resolution. She fixed Eliza with a stern gaze. Ms. Kwan, I believe we've heard your concerns. It's time to conclude this demonstration and allow Mr. Jordan to conduct his business. Before Eliza could respond, 3 black SUVs pulled up outside the bank. Through the lobby windows, she could see men in suits exiting the vehicles. More bank executives arriving to manage the situation. Time was running out. Either her radical gambit would lead to meaningful change, or her banking career was over. It's your call, Jordan said quietly to her. Their eyes met briefly, a silent understanding passing between them. He would follow her lead, whatever she decided. The whispers throughout the bank had grown to a steady murmur. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. The moment of truth had arrived. Eliza took a deep breath and stood. With respect, Chairperson Delaney, I'd like to finish presenting my proposal before we conclude. Ms. Kwan, Victor began, but Chairperson Delaney held up a hand to silence him. You have 5 minutes, she told Eliza. Make them count. Just as Eliza opened her folder, the conference room door opened. A harried-looking Thomas stood in the doorway. I'm sorry to interrupt, he said, but the CEO and several regional executives just arrived. They're asking to join this meeting immediately. Chairperson Delaney nodded. Send them in. Eliza's heart raced. This was escalating, beyond her control. The CEO, Maxwell Richardson, rarely left the corporate headquarters. His presence meant either disaster or opportunity. She couldn't tell which. 4 men in expensive suits entered the room. Leading them was Richardson, tall and imposing, with silver hair and steel-rimmed glasses. His expression was unreadable. As he surveyed the room, his gaze lingering on Jordan before settling on Eliza. Ms. Kwan, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. It seems you've created quite a stir today. Sir, I can explain, she began, but he raised a hand. "I'm sure you can, and I'd like to hear it. But first, let me apologize to Mr. Jordan for any inconvenience." He extended his hand to the basketball star. "Max Richardson, it's an honor to meet you, though I wish under different circumstances." Jordan stood and shook his hand. "No apology necessary. In fact, this wait has been educational." Richardson raised an eyebrow. "How so?" "I've learned a lot about how banks operate," Jordan replied, "and about how people like Ms. Kwan are trying to change things for the better." The CEO looked surprised, glancing between Jordan and Eliza. "I see." Eliza seized the moment. "Mr. Richardson, I've been collecting data for 2 years showing how our service model disproportionately impacts working-class customers." She handed him her folder. "Today's demonstration was designed to highlight these disparities by treating a high-profile client the way we regularly treat everyday customers." Richardson flipped through the documents, his expression thoughtful. "And Mr. Jordan was aware of this experiment?" "No," Jordan answered before Eliza could speak. "But I support what she's trying to do. Banking should serve everyone equally, not just the wealthy." The room fell silent. Richardson studied Jordan for a moment, then turned to Eliza. "Ms. Kwan, while I admire your passion, your methods are concerning. Making a client wait, any client, to prove a point is not how we do business at Meridian Trust." "With respect, sir," Eliza countered, "it is exactly how we do business. Every day, hundreds of customers wait hours for services that others receive immediately, simply because of their account balance." The tension in the room was palpable. Victor looked smug, clearly expecting Eliza to be fired on the spot. The regional executives whispered among themselves. The board members watched, with varying expressions of concern and interest. Richardson set the folder down and walked to the conference room window. Outside, the crowd had grown. News vans lined the street. Customers and curious onlookers filled the lobby. "Do you know what I see out there, Ms. Kwan?" he asked quietly. "A PR disaster," she ventured. He surprised her with a short laugh. "That too, but mostly, I see people paying attention to banking practices. When was the last time that happened?" Before she could answer, a commotion at the front entrance caught everyone's attention. The glass doors opened and 3 more people entered. Board members who had been traveling and just arrived. They made their way quickly through the crowded lobby toward the conference room. "It seems the entire board is now present," Chairperson Delaney observed. Richardson nodded, turning back to face the room. "Then perhaps it's time for a vote." "A vote on what?" Victor asked, looking confused. "On Ms. Kwan's proposals," Richardson replied, "which, I must admit, I've been reviewing in various forms for nearly a year." Eliza's head snapped up. "You've seen my proposals before?" "Did you think those quarterly reports disappeared into thin air?" Richardson asked with a slight smile. "They've been circulating at the executive level for months. Your persistence is remarkable." The 3 new board members entered, quickly brought up to speed by whispered explanations from their colleagues. "While I don't condone your methods today," Richardson continued, "I cannot deny that you've forced a conversation we've been avoiding too long. So, Chairperson Delaney, shall we put it to a vote?" Delaney looked surprised but nodded. "I believe we have a quorum." Victor stepped forward, incredulous. "You're actually considering rewarding this behavior?" "She held Michael Jordan," Hostage to make a point. I wasn't held hostage, Jordan interjected calmly. I chose to stay because what Ms. Kwan is fighting for matters. It matters to me too, came a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Tyler, the 10-year-old boy, standing there with his mother. My mom has been waiting for help with my college fund for months. She keeps getting put at the end of the line. The simple statement cut through the corporate tension. Several board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Richardson looked thoughtful. Out of the mouths of babes, he murmured. Then more, loudly. Let's take this to a vote. Ms. Kwan's proposals, as outlined in her report, concerning equal wait times, revised loan evaluation criteria, and community investment initiatives. Chairperson. Delaney nodded, looking around the room. All in favor? Hands began to rise, slowly at first, then with more confidence. Dr. Harris's hand went up, immediately. After a moment's hesitation, so did Chairperson Delaney's. One by one, most of the board members followed suit. All opposed? Delaney asked. Victor's hand shot up, along with two others. The motion passes, Delaney announced. Meridian Trust will begin implementing these changes immediately. The weight of the moment settled over Eliza. She had done it, risked everything, and won. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them away. This wasn't just for her father anymore. It was for Tyler's mother, for Jordan's parents years ago, for countless customers who deserved better. Richardson cleared his throat. Ms. Kwan, I believe you've finally gotten your point across. Now, perhaps you could do your actual job and assist Mr. Jordan with his business? Of course, she nodded, turning to Jordan with a small smile. Mr. Jordan, I believe you wanted to open an account? I did, he confirmed. But first, he was interrupted by his phone ringing. Glancing at the screen, he frowned slightly. Excuse me, I need to take this. He stepped away from the table, speaking quietly into his phone. When he returned, his expression was different. More focused, more intense. Change of plans, he said. I just got a call from my business manager. There's something else I'd like to discuss with Meridian Trust. Something bigger than a simple account opening. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Jordan. Even Richardson looked intrigued. 3 black SUVs just pulled up, Thomas announced from the doorway. Ms. Kwan, they're asking for you. Eliza stood frozen, confused by this new development. Through the lobby windows, she could see 3 identical vehicles parked behind the executives' cars. Men in suits were exiting them, heading toward the bank entrance. I believe they're with me, Jordan said quietly. Richardson raised an eyebrow. And who exactly is they, Mr. Jordan? Before Jordan could answer, the bank doors opened again. 3 men in expensive suits entered, carrying briefcases and looking purposeful. Jordan smiled, placing a hand lightly on Eliza's shoulder. My investment team, I think Meridian Trust and I have some serious business to discuss. The entire room stared in shock as Jordan's team made their way through the crowded lobby. Even Eliza couldn't quite process what was happening. What kind of business? She managed to ask. Jordan's eyes met hers, a spark of something unreadable in their depths. The kind that changes everything, he said simply. A hush fell over the conference room as Jordan's investment team entered. 3 men in tailored suits, each carrying leather portfolios, took positions behind their famous client. The lead investor, a distinguished man with salt and pepper hair, placed his briefcase on the table. Alan Thompson, Chief Investment Officer for Jordan Enterprises, he introduced himself with a nod to the room. My colleagues, David Chen and Marcus Williams. CEO Richardson recovered his composure first. This is unexpected, Mr. Jordan. I was under the impression you were here to open a personal account. That was my original intention, Jordan confirmed. But while waiting, he glanced at Eliza with the hint of a smile. I had time to reconsider a larger opportunity. He gestured for Alan Thompson to continue. The investment officer opened his briefcase and removed several documents. For the past 6 months, Jordan Enterprises has been exploring partnership opportunities with financial institutions for a new community development initiative, Thompson explained. We've vetted dozens of banks across the country, looking for the right partner. Eliza listened, confused by this unexpected turn of events. What did this have to do with her demonstration today? Richardson leaned forward, suddenly very interested. What kind of partnership? A $50 million investment in underserved communities, Thompson replied, causing several gasps around the table. Sports complexes, small business incubators, affordable housing, and financial education centers in neighborhoods typically overlooked by traditional banking. He passed documents around the table. We need a banking partner who understands the importance of community investment beyond mere profits. And you're considering Meridian Trust? Chairperson Delaney asked, scanning the proposal. With wide eyes. We are now, Jordan said. He turned to Eliza. Thanks to Ms. Kwan. All eyes shifted to Eliza, who stood speechless. This couldn't be happening. How had her risky demonstration led to this? Jordan continued, addressing the entire room, but keeping his gaze on Eliza. When I arrived this morning, Meridian Trust was just one of several banks on our short list. I wanted to see firsthand how this branch operated before making any decisions. So you were evaluating us? Victor asked incredulously. All this time? Not exactly, Jordan admitted. I genuinely came to open an account. But when Ms. Kwan made the unusual decision to make me wait, I became curious. Instead of leaving, I observed. I watched how staff treated elderly customers with patience. I saw how loan officers explained options to young couples, and I noticed which customers were prioritized and which weren't. He nodded toward Eliza. What I didn't know was that Ms. Kwan was conducting her own demonstration, one that perfectly aligned with what my team has been looking for. A bank willing to challenge the status quo of how financial institutions treat working-class communities. The revelation stunned everyone in the room. What had seemed like a PR disaster was transforming into a potential windfall. $50 million in community investment, backed by Michael Jordan's name and influence, would generate immeasurable goodwill and business. Eliza finally found her voice. Mr. Jordan, I had no idea. I know, he said with a genuine smile, which makes your stand today even more impressive. You risked your career to fight for fair treatment, not knowing who might be watching. Richardson cleared his throat. Mr. Jordan, Meridian Trust would be honored to partner with Jordan Enterprises on this initiative. In fact, with the changes we've just voted to implement one based on Ms. Kwan's proposals, I believe we're perfectly positioned for this partnership. That's what I'm counting on, Jordan replied. He turned to his investment team. Alan, would you explain the structure we're proposing? As Thompson began outlining the partnership details, Eliza stepped back, trying to process everything. Her simple demonstration had snowballed into something far beyond her expectations, from nearly losing her job to potentially helping secure a major partnership with Michael Jordan. It was surreal. Tomas appeared at her side. What's happening? He whispered. The lobby is chaos. Rumors are flying everywhere. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, she admitted quietly. But I think we just won. Through the conference room windows, she could see the crowd in the lobby growing larger. Bank security had formed a line at the entrance, controlling who could enter. News vans continued to arrive outside. The story was spreading. Inside the FIDA conference room, Jordan's team was now displaying presentation slides on a laptop. Maps of Chicago neighborhoods appeared, highlighting areas for potential investment. Board members leaned forward, engaged and enthusiastic. We'd like to start with 3 pilot locations, Thompson explained. South Side Chicago, West Philadelphia, and East Los Angeles. All communities with significant need and minimal banking services. The TD South Side branch would be our flagship, added David Chen, another member of Jordan's team, complete with a basketball court, financial literacy center, and small business incubator. The excitement in the room was palpable. Victor, who had been Eliza's strongest opponent, now watched with barely concealed envy as the opportunity unfolded. "There is one condition," Jordan said, bringing the room to attention again. "Meridian Trust must demonstrate its commitment to change by putting the right people in leadership positions." He looked directly at Eliza. "Starting with Ms. Kwan, we want her to head the Community Investment Division that would oversee this partnership." Eliza felt the floor shift beneath her. "Me?" she managed. "But I'm just a branch manager." "A branch manager who was willing to risk everything to create change," Jordan corrected. "That's exactly who we need." Richardson nodded slowly. "I believe that could be arranged. Ms. Kwan has certainly proved her dedication to community banking. Today..." The conference room door opened again, and a woman from the PR department slipped in, looking flustered. "Excuse me," she said, addressing Richardson. "Sir, the press is requesting statements. Social media is exploding with speculation. What should we tell them?" Richardson looked at Jordan, who nodded slightly. "Tell them Michael Jordan and Meridian Trust are making an announcement at 2:00 p.m. regarding a major community investment initiative. No further details until then." As the PR representative left, Jordan turned to Eliza. "Ms. Kwan, I believe you and I should prepare that announcement together. After all, this partnership was born from your willingness to make me wait." Laughter rippled through the room, breaking the tension. Even Victor managed a tight smile, recognizing the tide had turned completely. Richardson stood. "I suggest we take a short break before continuing. Ms. Kwan, perhaps you could finally assist Mr. Jordan with his original request while we prepare for the next phase of discussions?" Eliza nodded, still dazed by the rapid turn of events. As the executives and board members filed out of the conference room, Jordan stayed behind. "You really had no idea who I was beyond the basketball player, did you?" he asked once they were alone. "What do you mean?" Eliza looked confused. Jordan studied her for a moment. "Your father, Lin Kwan. He wanted to open a sports equipment shop in the South Side." Eliza froze. "How did you know my father's name?" "Because 15 years ago, I received a business proposal from him, after he was rejected by this bank." The world seemed to stop. Eliza stared at Jordan, unable to process what she was hearing. "My father sent you his business plan?" Jordan nodded. "Through a mutual connection at the Chicago Stadium where he worked nights. I was interested in his community-focused approach. But when I tried to contact him, the information had changed." "We moved," Eliza whispered. "After the rejection, he took a job in another neighborhood. We had to change our phone number. By the time I tracked him down a year later, he'd given up on the idea." Jordan continued. He wouldn't even discuss it. Tears filled Eliza's eyes. He never told me he reached out to you. Some things are hard for a proud man to talk about, Jordan said quietly. But his ideas, making sports equipment accessible to kids in low-income neighborhoods, creating community around athletics, those stuck with me. They became part of the foundation for what we're doing today. The revelation was overwhelming. All these years, Eliza had been fighting to change banking, partly because of what happened to her father. And now, in some cosmic circle, Michael Jordan had walked into her bank, connecting past to present in ways she could never have imagined. There's more to this story, Jordan said, his expression suggesting something significant still remained unsaid. But that will have to wait. I believe we have an announcement to prepare. Outside the conference room, the bank buzzed with anticipation. The moment of crisis had passed, transformed into opportunity. Whatever came next would change Eliza's life forever, and possibly the lives of countless others in communities like the one where she'd grown up. The wait was over, but the story was just beginning. Eliza followed Jordan out of the conference room into the bustling lobby. Bank employees tried to maintain normal operations despite the crowd of onlookers and reporters gathered outside. The glass doors. Security guards formed a barrier, keeping the media at bay. Ms. Kwan, Tomas approached, looking both excited and overwhelmed. Everyone's asking what's happening. The rumor mill is out of control. Tell them we'll make an announcement at 2 actual, she replied, still processing Jordan's revelation about her father. And Thomas, thank you for standing by me today. The young assistant manager beamed. Are you kidding? This is the most exciting day in banking history. Jordan chuckled. I don't know if that's saying much. As they made their way toward Eliza's office, customers and employees alike stared in awe. The basketball legend moved with easy confidence, occasionally nodding acknowledgement, but staying, focused on the task at hand. Inside her office, Eliza closed the door and took a deep breath. Mr. Jordan, I'm still trying to understand what just happened. This morning I was worried about saving my branch, and now you're offering me a position leading a major initiative. Life changes quickly sometimes, Jordan replied, settling into a chair across from her desk. And please, call me Michael. Michael, she repeated, the informality feeling strange. You mentioned there's more to the story about my father? Before he could answer, a knock interrupted them. CEO Richardson stood at the door with Chairperson Delaney. We need to discuss the announcement, Richardson said. The board is assembling in the main conference room. Mr. Jordan's team is setting up a presentation. Eliza nodded. We'll be right there. After they left, Jordan stood. The rest will have to wait a bit longer, but I promise we'll finish this conversation. They rejoined the others in the larger boardroom upstairs, where Jordan's team had set up a professional presentation. The full board was present, along with regional executives and the bank's PR team. Victor sat in a corner, his earlier smugness replaced by calculated interest. Alan Thompson began the presentation, outlining the Community Investment Partnership in detail. The initiative would establish financial centers in underserved neighborhoods, combining banking services with community resources like job training, small business support, and youth programs. The Jordan brand will provide the visibility and trust needed to draw people in, Thompson explained. Meridian Trust will provide the financial expertise and services. Together, we create something neither could accomplish alone. Slides displayed architect renderings of modern facilities featuring both Meridian Trust and Jordan brand logos. The flagship South Side Chicago location would include a regulation basketball court, financial literacy classrooms, and small business incubator spaces. Each center will be staffed by local residents whenever possible, Thompson continued. Creating jobs while building trust in communities that have historically been skeptical of financial institutions. The bank executives exchanged impressed glances. This wasn't just a PR opportunity. It was a comprehensive business strategy with significant growth potential. Our research shows these communities represent over $12 billion in untapped banking potential, David Chen added, displaying charts that made several board members sit straighter in their chairs. Money currently outside the banking system or flowing to predatory services like payday lenders and check-cashing stores. Richardson nodded thoughtfully. The potential is compelling, but implementation will be challenging. These communities have deep-rooted skepticism toward traditional banks, often for good historical reasons. Which is why leadership is crucial, Jordan interjected, looking at Eliza. We need someone who understands both banking and community needs. Someone who's demonstrated a willingness to challenge the status quo for the right reasons. All eyes turned to Eliza. She felt the weight of expectation, but also a growing sense of purpose. This was exactly the kind of change she'd been fighting for, an opportunity to reinvent banking for people like her father. Ms. Kwan has shown today that she's willing to take risks for what she believes in, Jordan continued. That's the kind of leadership this initiative needs. I agree, Richardson surprised her by saying. Ms. Kwan, are you interested in heading this new division? Before she could answer, Victor spoke up from his corner. While Ms. Kwan's passion is commendable, this initiative requires experienced executive leadership, someone with broader institutional knowledge. He was making a play for the position himself, Eliza realized. After opposing her all morning, he now wanted to capitalize on the opportunity she'd created. Jordan's expression hardened slightly. With respect, we've specified that Ms. Kwan's leadership is a condition of our partnership. The room fell silent. $50 million hung in the balance. Richardson cleared his throat. I believe we can create a structure that works for everyone. Ms. Kwan would lead the Community Investment Division, reporting directly to the Executive Committee. Mr. Rollins, your experience would be valuable in helping establish the operational frameworks needed. It was a diplomatic solution. Victor would get involvement without control, while Eliza would lead the initiative. From Victor's tight smile, she could tell he wasn't entirely satisfied, but couldn't object further without seeming petty. There's one more aspect to discuss. Marcus Williams, the third member of Jordan's team, spoke up. The education component. He clicked to a new slide showing plans for financial literacy programs targeted at different age groups, from elementary school children to seniors. This is perhaps the most important element, Jordan said. Teaching people how to build wealth, not just manage money. As the presentation continued, Eliza found herself imagining what her father would think of all this. Lin Kwan had been denied a simple business loan in this very bank. Now, his daughter would lead an initiative to help thousands of entrepreneurs like him access capital and support. The irony wasn't lost on her, nor was the responsibility. This wasn't just a career opportunity. It was a chance to fulfill her father's dream on a much larger scale. The meeting continued for another hour, covering implementation timelines, budget allocations, and marketing strategies. Throughout, Eliza contributed insights based on her years of observing how banking practices affected different communities. Each time she spoke, Jordan nodded in approval. By 1:30 p.m., the framework of an agreement had been established. Legal teams would draft formal documents, but the partnership was essentially confirmed. Richardson stood to address the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have the makings of a historic initiative. Our PR team will prepare a press release and will make the announcement at 2 as planned. He turned to Eliza and Jordan. Perhaps you two should prepare some remarks. As the meeting dispersed, Jordan motioned for Eliza to follow him to a quiet corner. "We haven't finished our conversation about your father," he said quietly. "There's still something important you should know." Eliza studied his face, trying to read what might be coming. "What is it?" "Not here," Jordan replied. "Too many ears. Let's find somewhere private before the announcement." They slipped out, a side door, away from the crowd in the lobby, and found an empty office. Jordan closed the door and turned to face her. "Eliza, your father's idea didn't die when the bank rejected him," he began. "It became something else entirely." Eliza's heart raced. "What do you mean?" Jordan reached into his suit jacket and pulled out his phone. After scrolling through several screens, he handed it to her. "Do you recognize this?" The screen showed a digitized version of a faded document. At the top, in her father's neat handwriting, was the title, Community Sports Access Project. Lin Quan. Eliza gasped softly. It was her father's original business plan, the one rejected by Meridian Trust 15 years ago. "How do you have this?" she whispered. "As I mentioned, your father sent it to me through a connection at the Chicago Stadium," Jordan explained. "What I didn't tell you was that I kept it. Something about his vision stayed with me. Equipment at affordable prices, community involvement, breaking down barriers to sports for low-income kids." Jordan took the phone back, swiping to another document. "After I couldn't reach him, I had my team create this." The new document was titled Jordan Community Sports Initiative, Pilot Program. This was the beginning of what eventually became the Jordan Youth Foundation, he continued. "Many of the core concepts came from your father's proposal." Eliza felt dizzy. Her father's rejected plan had influenced Michael Jordan's charitable work. It seemed impossible, yet the evidence was right in front of her. "We launched the first program in 1998, Jordan said. Sports equipment libraries where kids could borrow gear instead of buying it. Free clinics, community coaches. All ideas from your father's plan." "He never knew," Eliza said softly. "He died thinking his dream died at this bank." Jordan nodded solemnly. "I tried to find him again years later, but by then..." He trailed off, not needing to finish the thought. Eliza opened her purse and removed a worn photograph, her father standing proudly in his Chicago Stadium janitor's uniform. "This was his favorite job, even though it paid the least," she said. "He'd come home with stories about the games, about watching you play." Jordan studied the photo. "Wait a minute." He looked closer. "I think I remember him." "What?" There was a janitor who always nodded hello in the hallway to the locker room. "Quiet man, always smiling. Was that your father?" Eliza stared at him in disbelief. "He said he saw you sometimes, but I never thought." "He never spoke to me," Jordan recalled. "Just that respectful nod. Every game." The connection felt surreal. Two lives that had brushed against each other briefly, only to be reconnected years later in ways neither could have imagined. Jordan handed her phone back. "But there's more, Eliza. The folder I showed you, your Father's original plan. I found it again recently while my team was researching potential banking partners for our new initiative. I don't understand, Eliza said. When I told my team about your father's idea and how it influenced our foundation, they suggested we find the bank that rejected him to see if their practices had changed. The realization dawned slowly. You came to Meridian Trust today. Because this was the bank that turned down Lin Kuan, Jordan finished. I wanted to see if the same institution that couldn't recognize the value in your father's vision 15 years ago might be different now. And then I made you wait, Eliza said, incredulous at the coincidence. Which showed me immediately that some things hadn't changed, Jordan said with a wry smile. But then I watched you fight for that change, the daughter of the man whose idea helped shape part of my legacy. He reached for the folder she still held. May I? Jordan took the photo of her father and studied it again. Lin Kuan, he said softly. His name will be on the first community center we build, if that's okay with you. Tears filled Eliza's eyes. He would have been so proud. A knock at the door interrupted them. Thomas poked his head in. Sorry to disturb you, but it's almost 2:00. The press is assembled in the lobby for the announcement. We'll be right there, Jordan assured him. After Thomas left, Jordan handed the photo back to Eliza. There's one last thing you should know, he said. When I researched Meridian Trust, your name came up as a branch manager. The coincidence seemed too perfect to ignore. You knew who I was before you came in today? Eliza asked, surprised. I knew your name and position. I suspected you might be related to Lin Kuan, but wasn't certain until I saw you. You have his eyes, Jordan said. That's why I didn't leave when you made me wait. I was curious about what his daughter might be doing in the same bank that rejected him. Eliza struggled to process everything. So today wasn't just random. You came here partly because of my father, and I made you wait because of what happened to my father. Life has a way of coming full circle, Jordan said. Now, let's go make this announcement and create something your father would be proud of. They walked together toward the lobby, where bank employees had created a makeshift press area. Television cameras were set up, reporters held microphones, and curious onlookers pressed against the windows from outside. CEO Richardson approached them. Are you ready? The press is eager for an explanation of why Michael Jordan spent 2 hours waiting in a bank lobby. We're ready, Jordan assured him. Eliza squared her shoulders, feeling a new sense of purpose. What had begun as a risky demonstration had transformed into something far more meaningful, a chance to fulfill her father's legacy while creating opportunities for countless others. Richardson stepped to the microphones first, introducing Michael Jordan and explaining the new community investment partnership between Jordan Enterprises and Meridian Trust. The reporters listened intently, cameras flashing. When Jordan stepped forward to speak, a hush fell over the crowd. Sometimes, waiting leads to something unexpected, he began with a smile. Today, what looked like poor customer service was actually the beginning of an important conversation about how banks can better serve all communities. He outlined the $50 million initiative, describing how the new centers would combine financial services with community resources. Then, to Eliza's surprise, he motioned for her to join him at the microphones. This partnership was inspired in part by a man named Lin Kuan, Jordan continued. 15 years ago, he had a vision for making sports accessible to all children, regardless of income. Today, his daughter, Eliza Kuan, will lead this initiative, bringing that vision to life on a scale her father could only have dreamed of. The reporters began shouting questions, but Jordan raised a hand to quiet them. Ms. Kwan has a few words to share. Eliza stepped forward, her heart pounding. She hadn't prepared remarks, but looking out at the assembled crowd, she knew exactly what to say. My father once told me that banking wasn't built for people like us, she began. Today, we begin changing that story. The centers we're building won't just offer financial services. They'll create opportunity, build community, and help people achieve their dreams, regardless of where they start. As the press conference continued, Eliza felt a profound sense of completion. The circle that had begun with her father's rejection was closing, transformed into something powerful and positive. Throughout the remainder of the announcement, Jordan stood beside her, occasionally adding details about the partnership. Their unexpected alliance, the basketball legend and the branch manager, seemed to fascinate the press almost as much as the initiative itself. What none of them knew was the final piece of the story, the connection between Lin Kwan's rejected dream and the foundation of Jordan's community work. That remained a private understanding between Eliza and Jordan, a missing piece that made today's events not just a business partnership, but a moment of healing and restoration. As the press conference concluded, a reporter called out one final question. Ms. Kwan, why did you make Michael Jordan wait for 2 hours this morning? Eliza smiled. Sometimes, she said, glancing at Jordan, the most important people are worth waiting for. The reporters laughed appreciatively, unaware of the deeper meaning behind her words. As the press conference concluded, Richardson stepped forward to announce that additional details would be provided in a formal release later that afternoon. Security began ushering the media toward the exit, while bank employees attempted to restore order in the lobby. Throughout the chaos, Eliza felt strangely calm. The day's events had unfolded in ways she never could have imagined, yet somehow it all made perfect sense. Jordan's team had gathered near the conference room, already on phones coordinating next steps with their legal department. Victor hovered nearby, clearly angling to insert himself into the conversations. Chairperson Delaney was speaking with several board members, all looking pleased with the unexpected turn of events. Ms. Kwan, Tomas approached, beaming. That was amazing. The whole staff is talking about it. You're a hero. Hardly, she demurred. I just did what I thought was right. And risked everything in the process, he pointed out. Not many people would have the courage. Before she could respond, Jordan joined them. Your assistant is right, he said. What you did today took courage. Tomas's eyes widened at being acknowledged by the basketball legend. Mr. Jordan, it's such an honor to meet you. I've been a fan my whole life. Thank you, Jordan replied with genuine warmth. And thank you for supporting Ms. Kwan. Today, good leaders need good teams. Thomas practically glowed at the compliment. Absolutely, sir. Always. After Thomas excused himself, Jordan turned to Eliza. We have a lot of work ahead. My team wants to start planning visits to potential locations as early as next week. I'm ready, she assured him, though the reality of her new role was still sinking in. I believe you are, he said. But first, there's something I'd like to show you. Do you have time this afternoon? Of course, Eliza nodded, curiosity piqued. Good. I'll have my driver bring the car around in an hour. There's a place on the south side I think you should see. Before she could ask more, Richardson approached, accompanied by the bank's legal team. The next 45 minutes were consumed. with preliminary paperwork and scheduling follow-up meetings. By the time they finished, Eliza's head was swimming with details about budgets, timelines, and organizational structures. "Don't worry," Jordan reassured her as he noticed her overwhelmed expression. "My team will guide you through everything. This is just the beginning." An hour after the press conference, as promised, a sleek black SUV pulled up outside the bank. Jordan's driver opened the door, and Eliza slid into the back seat beside the basketball legend. "Where are we going?" she asked as the car pulled away from the curb. "Your father's neighborhood," Jordan replied, "where he wanted to open his shop." They drove in comfortable silence through downtown Chicago, eventually turning south. The gleaming skyscrapers gave way to residential areas, then to neighborhoods showing various signs of economic struggle. Vacant lots stood between aging buildings. Corner stores displayed faded signs behind security bars. Yet there were also signs of life and resilience. Community gardens, freshly painted murals, children playing basketball on makeshift courts. "This is where I grew up," Eliza said quietly, as they turned onto a familiar street. "Our apartment was just 2 blocks that way." Jordan nodded. "Your father's proposed location was just ahead." The SUV slowed, then stopped in front of a vacant storefront. The building was solid, but neglected, with papered-over windows and a faded "For Lease" sign that looked years old. "This was it," Jordan said, "according to the address in his business plan." Eliza stared at the empty building, imagining what might have been. Her father behind the counter, helping neighborhood kids find affordable equipment, building community around sports, just as he'd dreamed. "It's been vacant for years," Jordan continued. "Ownership changed hands several times, but no one's been able to make a business work here. The neighborhood needs too much." "Which is exactly why my father wanted to open here," Eliza said. "He believed that when you invest in overlooked places, you help change the narrative." "He was right," Jordan agreed, "and now we have the chance to prove it." He pressed a button, lowering the partition that separated them from the driver. "Frank, the next location, please." They drove another 10 minutes, turning onto a street bordered by empty lots. Jordan pointed to a large vacant area covering nearly a city block. "My foundation purchased this land last year," he explained. "We've been holding it while researching potential uses." The SUV stopped, and Jordan invited Eliza to step out with him. Standing on the sidewalk, he gestured toward the empty space. "This is where the first community center will be built," he said. "The Lin Quan Community, Sports and Financial Center." Eliza felt a surge of emotion. "Right here? In our old neighborhood?" Jordan nodded. "It seems fitting. The first center should be where the idea was born." He handed her a tablet from his briefcase. On the screen was an architectural rendering. A modern building with basketball courts visible through large windows, the Jordan logo displayed prominently alongside the words Lin Quan Center. "My team prepared this concept design months ago, but we were missing the banking partner to make it work," Jordan explained. "Now we have Meridian Trust, and more importantly, we have you." "This is..." Eliza struggled to find words. "My father would be speechless." "The center will combine everything we've discussed: financial services, sports facilities, small business support, education programs. A place that serves the community in multiple ways, just as your father envisioned, on a smaller scale." As they stood there, a group of children rode by on bicycles, curious about the expensive SUV on their street. Jordan waved, and they stopped, eyes widening in recognition. "Are you really Michael Jordan?" one boy asked, awestruck. "Last time." "I checked," Jordan smiled, using the same response he'd given Tyler at the bank. The children gathered around, excitement overcoming their shyness. Jordan spoke with them easily, asking about school and basketball, which courts in the neighborhood were best for playing. "We're going to build something special here," he told them, gesturing to the empty lot. "Basketball courts, classrooms, all sorts of good things." "For real?" the tallest boy asked skeptically. "People always say they're gonna do stuff here, but nothing happens." "For real," Jordan confirmed. "I promise. This time next year, you'll be playing on those courts." The sincerity in his voice seemed to convince them. They rode off, shouting the news to others down the street. Watching them go, Eliza felt the true impact of what they were creating. "This isn't just about banking or basketball," she said. "It's about keeping promises to communities that have heard too many broken ones." "Exactly," Jordan agreed. "Your father understood that. His plan wasn't just about selling sports equipment. It was about creating a place where kids felt valued." They returned to the SUV, continuing their tour of the neighborhood. Jordan pointed out other potential sites for future expansion, areas where similar centers could serve different parts of the city. "The model we create here will be replicated across the country," he explained. "But this first one, this will always be special. Your father's legacy." As the afternoon sun began to sink lower in the sky, they headed back toward downtown. Eliza's phone had been buzzing continuously with messages from colleagues, friends who had seen the news, and reporters seeking interviews. "It's going to be a busy few months," Jordan observed as she silenced her phone. "Worth it," she replied, simply. The SUV pulled up outside her apartment building. Before she got out, Jordan handed her a small package. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it later," he suggested. "Just a small token to commemorate today." Eliza thanked him and stepped out of the vehicle. As the SUV pulled away, she felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. In a single day, her life had changed completely. From branch manager worried about her job to leader of a groundbreaking initiative. From daughter honoring her father's memory to steward of his legacy. Full circle indeed. Eliza entered her apartment, dropping her keys on the small table by the door. The events of the day seemed surreal. This morning, she had been a branch manager worried about a board meeting. Now, she was leading a multi-million-dollar initiative with Michael Jordan. She kicked off her shoes and collapsed onto her couch, the small package Jordan had given her still in her hand. Carefully, she unwrapped it, revealing a velvet box. Inside was a basketball keychain with an engraved plate. The inscription read, "Some weights are worth it. MJ." A smile spread across her face. The simple gift captured the day perfectly. Her phone rang, Thomas calling with updates from the bank. After the press conference, Meridian Trust had been flooded with calls and visitors. News of the partnership had spread rapidly, and the public response was overwhelmingly positive. "The CEO wants to meet with you first thing tomorrow," Thomas informed her. "They're fast-tracking the creation of your new division." "So much for a day to process everything," Eliza sighed, though she wasn't really upset. The momentum felt right. "Oh, and Victor has been telling everyone he'll be working closely with you on the initiative," Thomas added with a hint of amusement. "Something about his strategic vision being essential to implementation." Eliza chuckled. Some things never changed. Victor would always find a way to insert himself into success. Stories. But this time, it didn't bother her. Let him claim whatever credit he wanted. She knew the truth. After ending the call, she walked to her bedroom and opened her closet. On the top shelf, wrapped in a protective cloth, was a small wooden box. She carefully brought it down and placed it on her bed. The box contained her father's most treasured possessions: his wedding ring, his citizenship papers, and a small album of family photographs. But what she sought now was at the very bottom: his original business plan notebook. She had found it after his death, tucked away in a drawer as if he couldn't bear to look at it, but couldn't bring himself to throw it away either. The pages were worn from repeated handling, the margins filled with calculations and notes in his neat handwriting. Community Sports Access Project, the cover read. Inside, her father had detailed his vision, not just for a store, but for a gathering place where neighborhood children could find equipment, mentorship, and opportunity. Now, that vision would become reality on a scale he could never have imagined. His name would grace a center that embodied everything he had valued: community, opportunity, dignity. Eliza traced her fingers over his handwriting, tears welling in her eyes. "We did it, Baba," she whispered. "We really did it." As the evening progressed, she was jolted from her reflections by her doorbell. Outside stood Thomas and several other bank employees carrying food and champagne. "Surprise!" they called when she opened the door. "We thought you deserved a celebration." The impromptu party filled her small apartment with laughter and conversation. Everyone wanted to hear details about the partnership, about Jordan, about what would happen next. Eliza shared what she could, still processing much of it herself. To our new Community Investment Division leader, Thomas toasted, raising his glass. "Who made Michael Jordan wait 2 hours and got promoted for it?" Everyone laughed, clinking glasses. In the midst of the celebration, Eliza's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thought you might want to see this. First draft of the center design. Your father's vision in 3D. MJ." Attached was a video file, a computer animation showing the proposed Lin Quan Center from all angles. The modern building featured basketball courts, classrooms, financial service areas, and community spaces. Above the main entrance, prominently displayed, was her father's name. She passed her phone around, letting everyone see the video. Their excited reactions only reinforced the magnitude of what was happening. This wasn't just a career advancement or a banking initiative. It was a transformation. "I need some air," she said eventually, stepping onto her small balcony. The Chicago skyline glittered in the distance. Somewhere out there was the South Side neighborhood where she'd grown up, where her father had dreamed of opening his shop, where the first Lin Quan Center would soon stand. Her mind drifted back to that day 15 years ago when she'd accompanied her father to Meridian Trust. The long wait in uncomfortable chairs, the dismissive loan officer, her father's quiet dignity, even in rejection. "Banking isn't built for people like us," he had said afterward. Now she was in a position to rebuild banking itself, to create a model that worked for everyone, not just the wealthy or well-connected. The following morning, Eliza arrived at Meridian Trust an hour early. The lobby was quiet, the day's business not yet begun. She walked to the waiting area where Jordan had sat yesterday, running her hand along the chair that had sparked everything. "Ms. Kwan," a voice called. She turned to see Darryl, the security guard, smiling warmly. "Congratulations on your promotion. The whole bank is talking about it." "Thank you, Darryl." "Your father would be proud," he added. Eliza stopped, surprised. "You knew my father?" "Lin Quan?" Of course. He used to come by sometimes, just to check on you when you first started working here. Watched from across the street, never came in. Said he didn't want to make you nervous, having your dad hanging around. This was news to Eliza. He never told me he did that. Daryl smiled. He was a good man, quiet, but you could tell he had his daughter's determination. The revelation touched her deeply. Even after his rejection by this very bank, her father had supported her career here, watching proudly from a distance. At 8:30, CEO Richardson arrived, nodding approvingly when he saw her already at work. "Early start, Ms. Kwan. That's what I like to see." "Big day ahead," she replied simply. "Indeed. The board has expedited approval for your division. We'd like you to begin transition, and immediately. Your replacement as branch manager starts training today." Everything was moving so quickly. "I'd like Thomas Martinez to join my team," Eliza said. "He's been invaluable, and he understands the vision." Richardson nodded. "Done. Anyone else you want to bring over?" She thought for a moment. "Yes, actually. I have a few people in mind." By mid-morning, Eliza had been moved to a temporary office on the executive floor. Her phone rang constantly. Reporters seeking interviews, bank executives offering congratulations, community, leaders eager to discuss the initiative. At noon, Jordan's investment team arrived for the first official planning meeting. They brought architects, community consultants, and financial analysts, all ready to begin the real work of bringing the vision to life. As they gathered around the conference table, Alan Thompson handed out detailed timelines. "We'd like to break ground on the first center within 60 days, he announced. "Mr. Jordan is personally committed to accelerating this project." 60 days? Victor looked alarmed. "That's incredibly ambitious." "We've waited long enough," Eliza said firmly. "The community has waited long enough." The meeting proceeded, with Eliza surprising herself by taking command naturally. The skills she'd developed as branch manager, attention to detail, personnel management, customer needs assessment, translated perfectly to this larger stage. Late afternoon brought another surprise visitor, Chairperson Delaney. "Ms. Kwan," she said, entering Eliza's temporary office. "I won't take much of your time. I simply wanted to give you this." She handed Eliza a folder. Inside was a copy of her father's original loan rejection from 15 years ago, stamped with a single word: reversed. "It won't change the past," Delaney said quietly. "But perhaps it offers some closure." Eliza traced her fingers over the stamped word. "Thank you. This means more than you know." After Delaney left, Eliza sat alone for a moment, contemplating the document. The rejection that had altered her father's life, and ultimately her own, was now officially overturned. The record had been corrected, even if only symbolically. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jordan. "Meeting with the kids from the neighborhood. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the site. They have ideas for the basketball courts." She smiled, typing back. Her confirmation. The transformation was already beginning, not just of banking policies or urban spaces, but of relationships, of trust, of possibilities. As the sun set on her first day in her new role, Eliza packed her father's loan rejection and Chairperson Delaney's reversal together in her briefcase. Tomorrow, she would bring them to the site where the Lin Quan Center would stand. A reminder of where this journey had begun and how far it had come. Some waits, indeed, were worth it. Thanks so much for watching Bank Manager Makes Michael. Jordan wait 2 hours. I'm curious. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story about courage, kindness, and unexpected connections, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more uplifting content that spreads positivity when the world needs it most. And if you're looking for another inspiring story that will warm your heart, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most meaningful connections happen when we least expect them.